The energy inside the T-Mobile Arena crackled with anticipation, a restless hum of excitement spreading through the stands as thousands of fight fans packed in, their voices blending into a feverish roar. This was no ordinary night in the world of mixed martial arts. This was UFC 313, a card stacked with high-stakes matchups, a night that would determine the fate of champions and contenders alike. As the lights dimmed and the first fighters made their way to the octagon, the gravity of the moment was impossible to ignore. This was the stage where legends were made, where careers could be rewritten in an instant, and where one devastating strike could shift the balance of power in an entire division. The headline bout between reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira and Pereira and Ankalaev loomed over the event like an unstoppable force on the horizon. Pereira, a man whose power was the stuff of nightmares, had bulldozed his way through the division with a striking prowess that made even the most hardened warriors think twice before standing in front of him. Ankalaev, on the other hand, was the perfect foil, a measured, calculated fighter whose ability to control distance and mix in takedowns had made him one of the most feared men in the division. This was a classic clash of styles, a battle between raw knockout power and surgical precision, and the entire MMA world was on edge, waiting to see which philosophy would prevail. As the octagon doors locked behind them, the intensity inside the arena reached a fever pitch. Pereira, ever the aggressor, wasted no time establishing his presence, stalking forward with a level of confidence that sent a clear message he was not here to play it safe. The Brazilian champion opened with leg kicks that snapped against Ankalaev's shin like a whip, each strike echoing through the arena. But the Russian challenger was prepared. He absorbed the kicks with an expression of pure focus, his movement sharp, his counters precise. He knew that standing toe-to-toe with Pereira was a dangerous game, and he refused to take unnecessary risks. The first round was a battle of small victories. Pereira landed the heavier shots, but Ankalaev's defensive prowess allowed him to minimize the damage. The Russian attempted his first takedown midway through the round, shooting in with impeccable timing, but Pereira's takedown defense, an aspect of his game that had evolved drastically over the years, held up. The crowd erupted as the champion shrugged him off, landing a short elbow in the clinch before stepping back to reset. The round ended with both men staring each other down, neither willing to show any sign of weakness. As the second round began, it became clear that Ankalaev had adjusted. His feints became more pronounced, forcing Pereira to react, making the Brazilian second-guess his attacks. Then came the breakthrough. As Pereira loaded up on a left hook, Ankalaev slipped under it, timing a perfect double-leg takedown that sent the champion crashing to the canvas. The arena gasped as the Russian immediately transitioned to top control, pinning Pereira's shoulders to the mat. This was Ankalaev's world now, and he wasted no time making it known. His ground and pound was methodical, landing just enough damage to keep Pereira from scrambling, but never overcommitting to a strike that would allow the champion to escape. For the first time in the fight, Pereira looked vulnerable. The crowd could sense it. The commentary team acknowledged it, and Ankalaev certainly felt it. The round ended with the Russian still in control, and as Pereira walked back to his corner, his expression betrayed a hint of frustration. The momentum had shifted. The third round was the turning point. Ankalaev, now brimming with confidence, began to mix his striking with his wrestling beautifully, keeping Pereira guessing at every turn. The Brazilian still had his moments, landing a knee up the middle that briefly stunned Ankalaev, but the Russian's resilience was on full display. He pushed forward with relentless pressure, forcing Pereira to fight off his back foot, a position he was far less comfortable in. Another takedown secured by Ankalaev sent the champion tumbling to the mat once more, and this time there was no escape. The challenger controlled the entire round, suffocating Pereira with top pressure, draining the energy from his limbs with every passing second. By the time the fourth round began, it was clear that Pereira needed a finish. His corner knew it. The fans knew it. But Ankalaev was not going to give him that chance. The Russian continued his calculated assault, landing sharp counters, mixing in leg kicks of his own, and once again securing a crucial takedown that all but sealed Pereira's fate. As the final bell rang, there was no doubt in anyone's mind who had won. The judges made it official. Pereira and Ankalaev was the new UFC light heavyweight champion. The crowd erupted, a mix of admiration for the new champion and heartbreak for the fallen warrior. Pereira, ever the sportsman, nodded in respect, accepting his defeat with the grace of a true competitor. The division had a new king, and his reign was just beginning. But the main event was not the only fight that had fans on the edge of their seats. Earlier in the night, Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev had engaged in a war that would be remembered for years to come. Gaethje, a man known for his willingness to take as much damage as he dishes out, met Fiziev in the center of the octagon in what quickly became an all-out brawl. Fiziev, one of the most technically sound strikers in the lightweight division, found early success with his blistering speed, landing clean combinations that snapped Gaethje's head back. But the American warrior was unfazed. He walked through Fiziev's best shots, returning fire with an intensity that only he could bring. By the second round, the fight had devolved into pure chaos. Gaethje's relentless pace began to wear on Fiziev, who found himself getting drawn into an all-out slugfest. Blood streamed down both men's faces as they exchanged punch after punch, neither willing to give an inch. By the final round, the crowd was in a frenzy, sensing that they were witnessing something special. When the fight went to the judges, it was Gaethje who had done just enough to secure the victory, adding yet another chapter to his long list of unforgettable wars. And then there was the highlight of the night, the knockout that sent shockwaves through the MMA world. Mauricio Ruffi, a rising prospect still making a name for himself, delivered one of the most spectacular finishes in UFC history. A perfectly timed spinning wheel kick caught King Green flush on the chin, sending him crumbling to the mat before he even knew what had happened. The arena erupted in chaos, fans jumping to their feet, replays of the knockout playing over and over on the big screen. It was the kind of moment that makes UFC history, the kind of finish that cements a fighter's name in the minds of fans forever. As the final fights wrapped up and the crowd slowly filtered out of the arena, the atmosphere was still electric. UFC 313 had delivered in every possible way spectacular knockouts, grueling wars, and the crowning of a new champion. It was a night that reminded the world why this sport is so beloved, why fans tune in time and time again to witness the unpredictable, the violent, and the utterly breathtaking moments that only mixed martial arts can provide. As the octagon stood empty, waiting for its next battle, one thing was certain: UFC 313 had left its mark.